pink coconut water. Tastes the same. Well, today I want to sit and work on my new novel that I started, but my space is in a big mess, and to get any writing done today, I have to first get the space in order. And as we do this together, I want to tell you a little bit about the writing tools and resources that I'm using while drafting this new novel. Alright, first things first, I'll get everything off my desk and clean it.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago. I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright, and for the first time in a long time, I'm alright.
I'm so excited about this new writing project that I've started, and I have about, I think, 1,000 words already in the first draft, maybe closer to 2,000 words by now. I'm tracking all the word counts and the number of hours I'm spending on it, tracking all that in my Notion, the template that I've shared a couple of times now, but it's still evolving. I'm still tweaking things out, adding things, and once I feel confident that this is a template that's gonna stay more or less the same way for, I wouldn't say forever, but I would feel more confident with that template. I'll share that template with everyone, and I'll make it available for other writers who are interested in a digital format for tracking their writing projects, because I feel Notion is quite versatile that way. Let me know in the comments below what you're working on. Is it a fiction, a non-fiction, which phase of writing you're in, and if you're in the early stages of your outlining and you're developing your story idea. I shared my notes in one of the videos. I shared about the key elements that your story idea needs to have to develop into a full-fledged story, and another video I shared my 5-step method of how I go about, how I start with my story idea and move towards outlining and then writing the first draft. I'll link those videos in the comment section below. If you need help with developing your characters' wants and needs and their backstory, the setting, the theme, motif, all these things, check out the One Stop for Writers website. That is one place that I would recommend for any new writer who is still developing their style of writing and figuring out what works for them and what not. Try this website. It has, in my opinion, it has everything you need when you start writing. One of the things that I really like about this website is it has a lot of tools, not only with word building or character development, but also it has the set of thesaurus that gives you the words to express what you want to with the kind of environment they are in. I really find that very helpful, especially as new writers, when we are not able to effectively put our thoughts and our ideas onto paper. This set of thesaurus really comes in handy. Last week you saw me setting up my plotter, where I transferred my outline that I made in my notebook. I transferred that into my plotter, and I went back. Once I finished recording that video, I went back and I filled out the plot points that were missing while I was outlining my book. So I went back into Plotter and finished setting up that. And the next thing that I did was below the Plotter, the beats that Plotter gives you once you select select a template, I went back and added the scenes that would go with those beats. So some of the beats had just one scene, but some had multiple scenes. So I went and connected them with the beats that they would go with. I'll share a screenshot of what I'm saying. I don't know if I'm explaining it very, very well. But that's another tool that I'm using this time around. That's the Plotter app for outlining, and as I've started drafting, if there is something that I think of or I want to add, I can add it over there without taking away my focus in another direction. I can just keep it over there, my notes, and then come back into my Word document that I'm using for drafting. And that's the other app that I'm using, Word document this time. I would love to use Scrivener, but I have been working on revising and rewriting the Rajput for so long that I haven't worked in Scrivener in a while, and I'm a little intimidated, to be very frank. I'm a little intimidated to start using it again, because I feel there is so much with Scrivener that I don't have the time to go back and figure all those things out. I mean, I know the basics of it, but the other elements that make Scrivener what it is, I don't have time to figure all those things out all over again. And ever since I transferred everything on this laptop about a year back, I haven't used Scrivener. So I'm a little intimidated by it, so I'm not going to venture into that, but it is a good app to use for drafting, especially. I've usually used it for drafting in the earlier phases of my drafts. And the other app that is very comparable to Scrivener is Storyist. I tried that app again last year when I was traveling. I needed something that I could travel with, so I had tried its mobile version on my tablet, and I liked it. It's very similar to Scrivener. So if you are looking for an app, you can give that a try as well. But I'm going with old, tried and tested Microsoft Words. I'm comfortable with that. I've been working in it for such a long time. So I'm going with the Word document. Also, you can use Google Docs if you want your work to be available wherever you go. So that's another app that you can try. The next thing that I'm planning to do while fast drafting this novel is I'm going back to the notes I made when I took the online course by Jessica Brody. It's called Novel Fast Drafting by Jessica Brody. She has a website called the Writing Academy or something like that. I'll pop it up on the screen for you. I took that last summer, I guess, and I made a lot of notes from that I wanted to use every time I start drafting. If you are not sure about how to go about drafting, or if you struggle finishing your drafts, I would recommend using her course as a starting point for that. And she actually gives you homework, so to say, to finish certain portions of your draft before moving on with that course, which is very helpful, I feel, especially if you struggle with finishing your first draft. I tried that workshop while I was revising another novel. Try that course. I recommend that course. I found it very helpful. And once I'm done with the first draft, hopefully by the end of July, I'm guessing, I want to subscribe for Fictionary's. It's called, what is it called? Fictionary's Storyteller. They have two versions of it. One is for editors and one is for writers. So the one for writers is called Storyteller. I used the free version of it and put the Rajput draft in it, and it gives you a visual representation of where your beats are falling versus where your beats should be falling in the story. I really found it very interesting and fascinating. For my previous book, The Rajput, most of the beats aligned with what they had in their the baseline that they had. The only ones that didn't align is what I'm really struggling with, is the final act where all the action is happening, and I'm struggling with that, and that's where it actually showed in that graph that the beats were not falling in the right places. So I enjoyed that app, and I look forward to using it while once I'm done with the first draft of this novel, just to see what is it, how far off I am with things. And the other app I would use once I feel my story is cleaned up, the developmental portion is done. Once that is done, I want to use the self-editing apps like Grammarly or Pro Writing Aid. But this time around, I want to give a second try to AutoCrit. I used it a while back, 2 years back, maybe year and a half. I found it very helpful. It's very similar to Grammarly and Pro Writing Aid. It also gives you a comparison to stories in the genre you're writing in, which I found something that these other two apps don't give. I'm looking forward to using that for self-edits. I'll try and link all the resources and the tools that I mentioned, the apps that I mentioned in this video. I'll link them up in the description section of this video, just to make it easy for you so that you don't have to go all over the place trying to find out the apps and the resources that I mentioned here. And I'll get back to writing now, but before that, I'll pop up the video about my step-by-step process for outlining up here for you, and I'll see you in the next one.
The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.